Hey guys, welcome to Cruise Together. My name is Jeff, and this is my wonderful partner, Katie.
So today we really want to talk about some of the reasons when we ask our friends to go cruising, because we're always trying to bring our friends with us cruising. We always hear kind of the same set of responses as to why they don't want to go cruising. So today we want to talk about some of those, we'll call them misconceptions about cruising, and tell you a little bit more about it. All right, so one of the first things that we hear from people is that going on a cruise, whenever you go anywhere on the ship, it's just a tourist trap, that it's really, really touristy, and you're not getting like an authentic trip out of a cruise. And while, yeah, I do agree that when you like sail into a port and you instantly set foot off of the ship, like, sure, there's definitely tourist traps.
Especially at certain ports.
Yes.
Some ports are definitely guilty of this, but that's not the rule.
Right. And I think too, it's one of the things is you make the day what you want it to be, and you really have free reign once you're off of the ship. You can do whatever you want. Right. And so of course there's excursions that you can get through the cruise company itself. You can go through third parties, or you can just go off completely on your own, which again, depending on the port, may or may not want to do. As you're walking through that first little bit, of course, people in that country where you're getting off know that there's a whole bunch of tourists, so they're going to design that area for tourists, but it's not necessarily going to stay that way once you get out of that first initial area.
So the next point that we hear from people all the time is they think cruising is going to be boring. Mm-hmm. This one I think is total nonsense. I don't know why anybody says that. There is so much to do on a cruise ship. I cannot express that enough. These boats are seriously like floating cities. I mean, every activity you can think of, you can probably do it on a cruise ship. Mm-hmm. The companies that put the boats together, like, they are expecting a wide variety of different people and groups and families to individuals coming by themselves that have all sorts of different interests. And I mean, anything you want to do, you can go do it on the boat. There's roller coasters and water slides, and there's trivia and
bingo.
Yeah, we like bingo.
We love bingo.
There's usually like 20 different restaurants and bars and music venues and shows and
like wine tasting,
yeah,
things like that. And I will share, right, like, we don't have kids, so when we go cruising, it's really just the two of us. And so like when you're talking about water slides, it's really for me that we're talking about going down the water slides, not for the kids. So yes. Like, there's things to do for people of all ages.
Yes.
And nothing's really off limits.
Yeah, I think they do really a great job of curating. Like, every day there's you literally get a packet delivered to your room every day of like, here's everything that's going on the boat for the day, and what location, what time, and you can kind of pick and choose what you want to go do.
The other nice thing too is there's an electronic version of that packet. So every cruise company, of course, like every company in the world, has an app for it. And that app is functional when you're on the ship. And so you have like the itinerary with you at all times on the ship. So that's just a nice convenient way. So you're not having to memorize what you wanted to do and where it is and all of that.
You can even heart things. And so I'll go down the list and be like, oh, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in this. And then throughout the day, the app will send me notifications like, hey, that thing you were going to go do, or that you were interested in doing, it's going to start in half an hour. Maybe you should go check it out.
All right. One of the other common things that we hear people say is that it is just really, really crowded on a cruise ship. And while there are certain times that you can certainly feel the crowds, like on embarkation day, the day that you actually get on the ship, yeah, it's kind of madness when you get on, because it's just a massive influx of people. But honestly, the ships are designed really well. They put a lot of thought into it, I think, to make it feel that you're not just surrounded by people all the time.
I think that, there's so many different activities and different food venues and everything spread across the entire boat. And so there are a lot of people on the boat, but everybody's kind of doing their own little activity all across the boat. And so embarkation day is especially crazy because everybody's getting on at the same time, and then the rooms are usually not available first time you get on the boat. You have to wait a few hours. They're cleaning the rooms and everything. And so everybody's out walking around the boat all at the same time, and everybody wants to go see everything. And so that is a little crazy. But by the time the evening rolls around, everybody's dispersed, gone to their own spaces. Some people are in their rooms relaxing, and so it really calms down. I mean, there are some other times, like if you try to go get breakfast in the cafeteria at 9:30 or 10 a.m., that's going to be busy. So be ready for that. But you could get up a little early and go earlier. You could go
different food venue.
There's a bunch of different venues. You don't have to go to the cafeteria. You could go to, if it's a sea day, they usually have a sea day brunch. You can go to the main dining room and sit down, and they'll serve you. You place an order and they serve you everything.
I'll also say too, like I personally love to lounge at the pool, and like I like to soak up as much sun as I can. And I think one thing that you see a lot out there is like, am I going to have to fight for a chair because it's so crowded? And like I have personally never had to deal with that. But what's also nice is a lot of these ships have adult only areas. So like it's not as crowded in that area of the ship, and so you can really
quieter.
You can do whatever you want really whenever you want, I think is the point of this.
I think, you know, if you want a lounge chair that's literally right next to the main pool, that is going to be, you're going to have to fight for one of those. But there's so many chairs not immediately right next to the pool that you can go and get. They also do a really good job of just creating other lounge spaces all throughout the boat. So if you're looking for a party vibe at the pool, there's a DJ at one of the pools playing music and having a good time, but there's probably somewhere else that you can go that maybe has a pool, maybe it's a hot tub, maybe it's just there's no pool if you're not looking for a pool atmosphere. And you can find a spot that there is not a bunch of people, and
just chill,
that it's quiet, and you can read a book or whatever. Like you can, there's always a spot on the boat that matches the vibe you're looking for.
Yes. All right, a really, really, really common one we hear is that it is just going to be like a bunch of rowdy college people, or like people starting fights and they're just drunk and it's crazy, a crazy atmosphere. And personally, I have never experienced this. Like, sure, there are people who have drink packages and like
people get drunk.
You're on a cruise ship. You don't have to drive anywhere. It's great, right? But I have never experienced a rowdy situation before.
I've never seen a fight. I've never seen anybody even like shoving or getting aggressive.
No. And like I will say, so we go cruising a lot because of my work schedule. We go cruising in like prime spring break time. And so I remember the first time we did that, we were pretty apprehensive about like, should we book a cruise during spring break? And we were like, what the heck, let's just try it. And it was amazing, right? There was nothing that happened. So I think you see a lot of things get posted on the internet, a lot of crazy videos on every cruise line, but you know, they're being posted for a reason. Like it's a crazy thing that's happening.
Yeah, and I think, you know, people aren't posting videos of, hey, my cruise was so calm today.
Right, exactly.
Kind of related to that is that people have this impression that there's going to be a million kids everywhere and they're going to be running all around you and getting in your way and loud and obnoxious. And that's just not true. Like we haven't experienced that either. Even when there's usually on one part of the boat up on the top deck, there'll be water slides and the whole, like a kids water park area. There are a lot of kids running around up there, but that's kind of the point, right?
That's their area.
And we go up there and go down the water slide too, and it's fine. You're up there running around screaming yourself while you go down the slide. So I don't really sense, I haven't gotten the sense that there's a million kids all around outside of that area. I honestly never even noticed the kids.
And there's designated areas for kids, like they have like daycares and kids like teen and preteen club areas that are only for kids. So they don't totally like intermix with a lot of the things that personally we do. One of the things we hear about is that the food is really bad. So I personally am a vegetarian, I don't eat meat, and so of course that will always cut out some foods, but I have never ever had an issue with enjoying food on a cruise ship. And while, yes, I do think that some cruises do food better than others, especially for me with my diet, I have never gone hungry on a cruise ship, and I have never been like, oh man, this food is just not good. There are some, like on every ship, there's places that I prefer to go over others, but there is something for everybody on a cruise ship.
Yeah, I mean, I think, everybody has preferences on food, and they're trying to serve thousands of different people, and they know that, and so there is a vast number of different things you can eat. There's a bunch of different restaurants, and I will say they're trying to serve thousands of people, and so it's not going to be a 5-star. That's not going to be the best food you've ever had in your life. Like, this is mass-produced food for sure, but I think they do an excellent job considering how many people they're feeding.
If you can get food that's like made fresh, so like a lot of places will have like a taco bar that they'll like make your tacos for you, or like a burger place or the pizza place, or they're making things constantly. Like, that is actually really good food versus like some of the buffets, like it is more mass produced.
Right.
And so, while it's not bad food up there, like I think, again, depending on your style and what you like, right, there's going to be something for you. All right, so while we're talking about just kind of, I guess, different demographics that you might see on a cruise ship, the other thing that we hear is that it's just going to be a whole bunch of older people. And I would say cruises have a massive range of passengers. I mean, I think that because, and this is a spoiler alert for one of the reasons we love cruising, it's so easy. I think it's starting to skew really young, like people our age.
There's
right?
more and more people our age that are going on cruises, and we, like with this video, we're trying to encourage more people our age to go on cruises.
Right, and so I think that, yes, while you will see older people, you see a lot of younger people, and yes, while you see kids, there's just a huge range of people.
I think it depends on what boat you're going on, or what cruise line you're going on. Like, if you go on Viking, that's a super expensive, like, luxury cruise, and it's going to be really quiet and upscale, and the average age of people on those boats are probably quite a bit older. But if you go on Virgin Voyages, that's going to be a much younger crowd.
But no kids.
There's no kids on Virgin. Yeah. But I also want to say that doesn't mean that, if you're 65, that doesn't mean you can't go on Virgin or you can't go on here or wherever. Like, every boat I've been on has been very accepting of all ages. Okay, so I'm claustrophobic. I do not like tight spaces. I do not like being stuck on. I went on a submarine tour, which was cool. I managed to get through it, but oh my god, whew, that was scary. So our very first cruise we went on, I was actually pretty nervous that I'm going to be stuck on this boat in the middle of the ocean for days, and is that going to freak me out? And I was really happy to see that it didn't freak me out. These boats are so big. Everyone's seen a cruise ship, but I don't think you really realize how big they are until you actually get on one and start walking around and realizing, okay, this thing is a mini city. It's just such a big boat. And even the old, we've been on some 20-year-old boats that are much smaller than the modern boats today. And those still are huge boats. I actually love being out in the ocean. It's a really cool, it looks beautiful. There's a real serenity that comes with just being out there and listening to the waves go by. And the other thing that really I noticed the very first cruise I went on, and this has been the truth for all the cruises I've been on, especially if you're going out of a big port like Miami or Fort Lauderdale or Port Canaveral or really anything in Florida, there's a bunch of boats that are coming in and going out roughly around the same time that your boat is. And when it gets dark outside, if you go out and look into the water, you can see lit up cruise ships all over. Like, they're all going from Florida to the Caribbean, and they stick relatively close to each other. So, if you're afraid that your boat's going to sink or something,
you're not alone.
You're not alone. There's so many other boats out there. So another thing that we hear a lot is that everybody gets sick on the boat. You're going to get COVID if you go on a cruise. And, anytime you travel, anytime you're around a lot of people, sure, there's a higher risk of getting sick. Like, that's just part of going on vacation, to be honest. But the boats provide a lot of opportunities to wash your hands. There's hand washing stations everywhere. There's less hand sanitizer everywhere than there used to be when COVID was more of a thing, but there are still hand sanitizers usually, especially outside of the main cafeteria area and other dining venues.
And some of them, like some of the cruise lines, like are really, they really encourage you to wash your hands before you go into the buffet.
If you've ever heard the Washi Washi song before, that is, there are literally people outside of the cafeteria on Norwegian cruise lines usually with a little maraca or a drum or something. A tambourine.
Yeah.
They're literally singing the Wash Your Hands song that they made up.
And people actually do it.
People do it,
which is, I don't know if it's amazing. Yeah, it's great. But there are plenty of opportunities to sanitize or wash. We also personally bring like our own hand sanitizer.
Like the little individual wrapped Purell wipes.
Yeah, those have been great for us. It's easy to just like stick in your pocket or your bag or whatever you have. And so that way you can just wipe your hands off before you eat or whatnot. So I don't think I've ever gotten sick on a cruise before.
Like I said, there is an increased risk anytime you travel, but I don't think a cruise ship is worse than anywhere else when you're traveling. And you see these articles online about, 97 people came down with blah, 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 and the whatever the health organization is investigating the cruise. These boats have like 5,000 people on them.
Yeah.
90 people getting sick out of 5,000 people. It's like, they don't have to be on a cruise ship to get 90 out of 5,000 sick.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you take a sample size of thousands of people, 5% of them are going to be sick in the next week. Okay. So one thing we do really want to talk about that could be a problem for some people is motion sickness.
And we hear this one from quite a few people when we're saying, hey, come on a cruise with us. And they're like, I don't know, because I get motion sick really easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I don't think there's an easy answer to this. I think it's going to vary person to person. I think the risk of motion sickness is much lower than people think it is.
Yes.
But you are on a boat and you are at the mercy of weather. We've been on some cruises where the weather was really nice, and I swear to God, I never felt the boat move once.
Like you forget that you're on a boat.
Yeah, you forget you're on a boat.
Yeah.
But there are also some cruises we went on that we went through some storms, and the boat's definitely, it's not like, whoo, but you can feel it move when you go up and down stairs. You probably want to hold on to the handrail.
Yeah.
So motion is going to happen on most cruises, but it's not really intense. And I've talked to lots of people who are like, I normally get motion sickness, and I don't get motion sickness on cruises. I've talked to some people that are like, I don't normally get motion sickness, but I got motion sickness on the cruise I went on. So I think it really depends, but
I think being strategic about how you cruise, if you feel like, I want to try it, I want to try going on a cruise, but I'm worried about being motion sick. There are certain areas of the ship that are better to stay in than others. Basically, try to stay away from the very front or the very back of the ship. If you're in the middle, you're kind of in its...
Yeah, the boat's going to rock about the middle, so the middle is going to move less. And then the lower you are on the boat, you're also going to have much less motion.
And not only location, but when considering what ship that you go on, right, the size of the ship is going to have an effect, and just generally the age, because the technology, the stabilization technology, I think, has gotten better over time.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the bigger the ship, the less you're going to feel something. The newer, the better the technology. And so those are just some things that you can kind of control, I guess, sort of.
Yeah.
But inevitably, again, you can't control the weather. Meclizine is a good thing to take if you need it, Dramamine. But, I have gotten motion sick on smaller boats before, but I actually kind of enjoy the rocking of the...
Smaller boats being like speedboats.
Speedboats.
Not cruise ships.
Not cruise ships. Yeah, like speedboats. I've gotten motion sick, or like little pontoon boats, things like that. So yes, I am somebody who has gotten motion sick, but not
Never on a cruise
personally
ship.
gotten motion sick on a cruise ship before.
Yeah. And if you do get motion sick on a cruise ship, one of the things you shouldn't do that a lot of people, this is your first instinct, is to go to your room and lay down in the bed and close the blinds. Do not do that. You need to, the best recommended thing is to go up to a deck where you can see the horizon.
Yep, find the horizon.
And that gives you like a reference point for the motion that's happening. If you go to your room and close the door, your body is just swirling around and it doesn't know what's going on because it doesn't have any visual reference. Okay, so those are all the reasons that we normally hear from people about why they don't want to go on a cruise. But we want to talk about some reasons that why we love cruising.
All right, so number one in my book, I think, is it just logistically is easy. It's simple.
Yes.
Like basically all you have to do is pick the date that you want to travel, right? You want to go on this cruise, you find the cruise of that date, and you have to get to the place where the port is. Like that's really it.
Yeah. That's the most planning and like hecticness of travel that you have to do for the whole trip.
Yeah, when I go on vacation, like my normal like non-vacation life, I have to do so much organizing and planning and doing things, and like I want to turn my brain off. Completely off. And if I can just book this cruise and book the flight or drive however we're getting there to and from the port, and then just not think about anything, it's a perfect vacation.
That's the wonderful part.
Yeah.
We went on a vacation with a group of our friends. We went to the Azores, which is a group of islands like 1,000 miles off the coast of Portugal.
Just in the middle of the ocean.
Which was very cool. But the logistics of we all got to get different flights and get out there, and then where are we staying, and once we get there, what are all the activities we're going to do, and how do we actually get to those activities?
What are we going to eat?
What are we going to eat? We got to go. We got an Airbnb.
We have to go grocery shopping.
And so we had to go to the grocery store and buy basic snacks and food for breakfast, and then people have to cook the food while you're there.
If we wanted to go out to eat, then it's like, okay, like, do we get Ubers? Do they even have Ubers on a tiny little island in the middle of the ocean? Do we rent a car? Well, all the cars are stick shifts, so
who knows how to drive a stick shift?
Yeah, it was just like a lot. That's like a very specific issue, but still, it was a lot of planning.
And even once you've like, okay, we want to go snorkeling. Well, okay, there's 17 different places you can go snorkeling, and you got to figure out for all the group of people, how are you going to get to the snorkeling place? How are you each going to pay for your own stuff? And then you got to get on a boat and book tickets to get on that boat, and then that boat's going to take you to somewhere, and then
there's just a lot of thinking.
It's so much planning and organization, and everyone's got to agree, and you got to have conversations about it, and cruises solve all of that for you.
Yes.
You just get on the boat.
Just get on. That's all you have to do. Just get on the boat on time before it goes away.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and then your food is there for you. Your event planning is there. Once you get off the ships, then like, sure, again, you can pay for excursions if you want, or you can just walk around, right? Like, it's easy.
Yeah, but even the excursions, like let's say people want to go snorkeling while you're on a cruise, at every port you go to, they're on the app, it will say like, here are the different excursions you can do, and you can just book, I want to do snorkeling, and each individual person in your group pays for it through their own app. There's no, I got to Venmo you or anything like that. And you literally, the boat curates that. So when you get it to the port, you're going to be one of the very first people to get off the boat. They're going to tell you exactly where to go. There's going to be a guy there holding a sign that says snorkeling trip. They're going to put you on a bus. They're going to drive you there. They're going to provide the equipment. And then they're going to bring you back to the boat. And so there's very little planning and organization that needs to go into it. The cruise line handles all of that for you.
Yes, and if there is an issue at any point, like there's customer service literally on the ship.
Yes.
And so you're never high and dry if something happens.
Yeah. Totally. Another awesome part of the logistics of a cruise is that if you are with a group of people, often you're going to have a few people that want to do one activity, a few people that want to do another activity, and really no one has to be forced to do something they don't want to do because it makes the most sense logistically that we're going to go here because we're going to do something afterwards. On the cruise ship, you guys can split up and come back together really easily at any time you want. And I actually enjoy doing that. Like, I really want to go do activity A and somebody else really wants to do activity B, so we just go, cool, I'll see you in 3 hours.
One thing that I really, really love about cruising is you just wake up in new places, right? Like that ship is moving through the night, or I mean all the time, but when you wake up and you look out your window and then there's just this new place, this new island, whatever it might be, that is exhilarating.
It's really
to
like
me.
you're in bed being like, oh my gosh, what am I going to see out the window today?
Yes. Yeah, it's just a surprise, right? And because you're so used to seeing just ocean, which again, like you were saying, it's beautiful and it's serene and all of this, but then when you open that window and you actually see land, it's really cool, right? And it's just a new day, a new adventure. You're going to go get to explore this new place that you probably haven't been before. And it's just fun. It gives you a little taste of all these different places that would otherwise be really hard to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something really fun about the actual process of the boat docking. You often will wake up into the morning to like a very light massage rumble of the engines as the boat is like moving sideways towards the dock, which is super weird, but also so cool.
I think when you think about everything too that you're getting when you go on a cruise, the cost of it, like you really can't beat it.
Yeah.
You know, like we were saying, we went on another trip and we spent easily more than double what we would spend going on a cruise, and it took a lot more work and effort. It's really a good bang for your buck kind of vacation.
Yeah. I think some people get a little bit of sticker shock with a cruise because the upfront, you know, when you book a cruise, you're like booking everything, right? That's your housing, that's your food, that's your transportation, that's all your activities and entertainment and everything. And so you're paying like one lump sum that is a big number. But and when you compare that to like, well, okay, my flight to some place is a reasonable amount, and then I've got to pay for the hotel, that's another smaller amount, and then I've got to buy my food while I'm there and do all these different things. Those all happen at different times, and so you don't feel like you're dropping this huge amount of money down. But when you actually add it all up at the end, going on a normal vacation is significantly more expensive than going on a cruise. Another thing that really stood out to us on our first cruise, and this has been true on every cruise we've been on, is just how hard the staff work and how much they care about the people on the boat, and just the level of customer service is unreal. Like it seriously is like you're at the most expensive resort in the world. I don't know how these people have the energy to put as much time and devotion into each individual. They really, really work hard and make your experience amazing. And I appreciate the work that they do so much. They make the cruise so much better because of that.
And they genuinely want to help you. Like, just small story, my glasses broke on a cruise, and like that had never happened to me before. And there was somebody in one of the shops that like he was on a mission to help me get my glasses fixed. And like I would never expect that anywhere else, but they work so hard. They care so much about what they do. It's obvious that this means a lot to them, and it does not go unnoticed. Again, we don't have kids, but I do really appreciate that there are spaces on the ship dedicated for children, right? And teens and preteens and all of that, right? Because I would imagine being a young kid on a ship and not having those areas, it could be
kind of boring.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I do appreciate that they have those spaces not only for the kids, but for those of us who don't have kids, right? Because they are being entertained and they have their spaces, and that is like their part of the ship to own, basically. And it's just a nice bonus if you are somebody who has kids. They have those services for you, and it's safe, right? And like your kid is in a contained area, I guess.
Every cruise line will have a different name for they have actual daycare. On Carnival, it's called Camp Ocean. And this is a place that, like, you go drop your kid off there and the staff are watching your kids, and there's a bunch of games and toys and all sorts of stuff for them to do there while you go out and enjoy whatever you want to go do. It's one of the ways I try to talk my friends who do have kids into going on cruises. You went on some cruises when you were a kid. And you've talked about how your mom, like, why you realized as an adult why your mom liked taking you guys on cruises.
Yeah, now that I'm an adult, I can fully appreciate why she wanted it. Like, you know, she never like let us completely wander, but she knew that we were safe.
All right, so that's gonna be it for our video. I hope you guys got some useful information out of this, and I hope we convinced some people to go on a cruise, because they're awesome.
They're amazing.
They're awesome.